So in this video, we're going to go over some basics of creating a macro or a template in PowerScribe. So here I've opened up an example report, and since I've made many macros and templates for PowerScribe already, we're going to work on something that's pretty niche, but the concepts will be pretty universal. So one of the things I'm missing in my collection is something for assessment of the post-operative pituitary gland, since I'm a neuroradiologist. So the sort of wording that I want to create, that I, let's just say very frequently, that I want to be able to input with a macro is this. Similar post-surgical changes, status post, transsphenoidal resection at the pituitary gland, period. Actually, let's get rid of this. Just do that. And then I want to say no evidence of residual/recurrent lesion, period. All right, so let's just say that these two lines are what I want to be able to turn into a macro. So if you're in a report, let's just say that I was reporting a case and I was like, I say these couple lines very frequently. I want to not have to do this free dictation every single time, turn this into a macro. So what I would just do then is just highlight what I want to turn into a macro and then just say macro that. And what it will do is it will bring this into the auto text editor. So now I've got this macro, or this draft of macro, post-surgical status post. Okay, and then we'll just call this post-op-pituitary. A couple things here. You can put macros into different folders. So since I practice emergency radiology as well as neuro, I'm going to put this in neuro. Okay, so it's categorized. As you can see, I have folders for all my macros here. Okay, and then we can save it. Before we go back and demonstrate its use, what I'd like to show is just the really basic function of making these into like fill-in fields or smart fields. So what you can do, so what I'm going to do is copy this and hit fill in. So this turns it into something you can tab through. And I'm going to give it the same name as the text. So hit OK. So this is, there's different types of smart fields or fill-in fields. It can be text, it can be a number. Pick list is one of my favorite ones to use, but the most basic one is simply just to have text that you can highlight and tab through. So we'll just start with that. So now this is tab, a line you can tab through, and we'll do the same for this field. And what I'm doing here is this is the text that will show up, but if you name it, if you also give it the same name, then when you look at that same macro, so let's just say we do this, and I search post-op pituitary, that's what's going to show up when you look at it in the auto text manager down here in this field. Okay, so we've saved this macro, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my, let's say mock report, and then we're going to call the macro. So we say macro post-op pituitary, and now it comes up. And as you can see, I can tab back and forth through these fields. Okay, now let's take that a step further. And now let's say that you want to make a whole template. And by template and macro, they're in some ways kind of interchangeable. But when I say template, I'm largely referring to a whole, let's say, a draft. The thing that pops up when you open a study. The empty or the normal or the where you're working from. Once you open up a study for the first time within your workflow in radiology. Okay, so what we can do is to open up the auto text editor. You go to insert here, top of this menu, insert auto text and then go to create. Okay, so you can use this. I think you can use one of these functions too. So auto text here, you can actually pull in all of your auto text through this menu, but I don't know if anybody does that. You just use voice commands. But here, this will bring up the auto text editor. Now, in our system, the first time you open it, when you've opened up PowerScribe for the first time that day, it takes a while to load, like a minute or two. So sometimes what I'll do is I will literally open it. If I need to use it, I'll open it while I'm doing something else just to wait for it. It takes like, I don't know, a minute maybe to load. I don't know exactly why that is. It's gotten worse over time. Hopefully that gets corrected. We've been working on it, but it hasn't been yet corrected. So let's just say I want to make a new macro. So not only do I want these lines, I want the whole template of what I want. So I could just input this into a report. If I open up like an MRI of the brain or a CT and I see postoperative changes, at the pituitary gland, I can input that. But what I could do is I could have a template that just is for the assessment and includes all of pertinent negatives. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, instead of creating from scratch, almost anybody who's going to use PowerScribe is going to be in a system where you already have other people's templates. So I already have another template here that is just for the evaluation of the pituitary gland. There's just a lot of text here, but this here is what it looks like. And this is not postoperative. This is potentially for the evaluation or characterization of a pituitary gland. This is what it looks like here if I scroll up and down. But I want to change this so that it is for the evaluation of the postoperative pituitary, right? So let me just do this. So as you can see here, most templates are going to have some kind of like a header, what I'd call the name of the exam, the provided indication, and these sorts of fields are called merge fields. So if you go to hit this button, these will auto-populate. So you can automatically pull in from the connection between PowerScribe and your electronic medical record, the patient MRN, the gender, age, etc. The most common ones, everyone's commonly going to have the title near the top, auto-populate the reason for the study. I think you can also do comments and the comparison. So in our institution, we have a special field where you can automatically pull in comparisons. I have here some pick lists, which I'll cover in a different video. And then here you can see that this is, some already existing fill-in fields. This is an a merge field that pulls in the contrast dose. But what we're going to do here is I've pulled in or copied in. This is my existing template. So I actually don't want to mess with this too much. So we'll create a new one. So this is going to be MR post-op pituitary. Okay, and again, I'm going to turn so if I turn this to template, so I could designate this as a template, but actually all my templates, I actually just keep the type as macro. And what happens is that with template, I can't remember all of the nuances here, but with template, I believe you have special considerations where you can ways you can access it, associate with exam types. I think you might be able to do some of the same things with macro, but I just keep all mine as macro. In part because our institution doesn't allow me, kind of an end user, to associate templates to exam types and have them auto-populate. So I just have to put in every template on my own, after the fact, after like the default comes up. So this is kind of like a custom or bespoke template that I'm producing now. So again, I'm going to put this in the neuro folder, and oops, I don't want to do that. And we're just going to bring back the pituitary, MR pituitary, and what I'm going to do is just copy this in. So I've basically copied a pre-existing template, but now I'm going to modify it. And as you see, we've already have this prior macro, which I'm going to input here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and just put this at the top of the findings. So now we don't need some of these lines. If I'm evaluating the postoperative pituitary, I'm also just going to get rid of this. and this. So now, if I hit save, and I look at, basically this is what the template's going to look like. And, oh, I got to change the impression. So because this is, we still have some of the prior wording from the kind of original pituitary template. So let's just get rid of this. And what we'll say here is no evidence of residual or recurrent pituitary lesion. Period. That's pretty good. So this is, we'll unbold that, turn this into a fill-in field. Maybe I'll modify this later, but that's not a bad place to start. It looks like this has an extra line here. So as you can see, I lost a line in my the appearance of the template here, back here. So it's because it got pulled into the template. So I'm going to delete this here. Just make sure that's not here. Good. Okay. And then just add that line back in. We're going to save it. I should say, by the way, that if we're covering basics here. If you're just getting into this process, you're learning about some of these mechanics, trying to improve your efficiency, minimize the free dictation that you're doing. One of the most high yield things you can do is literally go to your institution. Here's everybody at my institution, if you were a trainee where I am, I would just encourage you to just go through and steal other people's macros. So this is, of course, we have systems macros that are built into the system. But if you were working with me, if you were a resident or a fellow, I would tell you, like, hey, you should steal some of my macros. You should steal some of my tools that I've developed, and you should go through, and let's just pretend you're on service with me, you're the first time, and you could just go and you could grab some of my macros and you could clone them, and then that would mean that you copy them to your own PowerScribe profile, and then you can use them and call them from your own profile. You won't be able to call other people's templates if you haven't brought them into your own profile. Systems templates, which are just a part of the broader system. I don't know if I can show you yet. So like here we have system templates. So like ones that are across the entire system, you can call in, whether or not, like for example, no matter whether or not I have any of these in my own profile, I could, say macro addendum, and it would pull this in. Okay. But that's been a little bit of an aside. So let's just head back to talking about this template we've created. And I think we've done everything we need to do here, just double checking. In some circumstances, you could associate this type of this template with exam codes. I tend not to bother, and I just call it with a voice command. So we'll save this template. Now we're going to close out and go back to my example report. And from here, I'll say macro MR post-op pituitary. And it brings up the template that we just created. And as you can see, some of this has like already some inbuilt functionality. It has pick lists and empty fields which you can input with text. And that is something that we'll cover in a different video. But to briefly recap, okay? So there are, I would say, two major approaches to creating a macro, and therefore minimizing the free dictation you have to do. You can just highlight text and say macro that, or you can go in and directly through the out of text editor create a macro. So I mean, we could have said, from here I could have said post-operative changes, status post, transsphenoidal resection at pituitary, period. No evidence of residual/recurrent lesion, period. Instead of doing the macro that, and then could have named this and saved this. But so that would have been another approach. To have created the shorter macro as well, but this is how we did the full template. And so the whole macro of that, and then just directly through the auto text editor, which is accessible at any time from insert, auto text, create. Okay, and that is just, if you can build some familiarity and try to do that, and then also steal and clone macros. That's probably the most important thing when you start. Just steal other people's stuff. If you can steal people's stuff, and then when you need something that you can't find that someone else has already made, make the first couple baby steps to creating your own things, then you will be well on your way to improving your efficiency and the reproducibility and perhaps completeness of your reports. All right. Thanks for listening.